What mental techniques do you rely on to push through races or those difficult days or the toughest parts of any race? Do you have any like go-to mental techniques that you use to get through these absolutely brutal, sometimes brutal physical endeavors?
Yeah, definitely. Number one is finding your why. And I think if you and it's individual for everybody, it's very unique, but if you find your why of, why is it that you're signing up for this race in the first place? Why is it that you're pursuing this goal in the first place? Whatever it may be that you're trying to achieve, know what your why is. And that can really serve as a very strong anchor throughout the entire training process. Because again, there are going to be the days where training or going for that run or going to the gym is the last thing you want to do. But if you remind yourself of, I remember what my why is, and it can really just offset any kind of negative thought patterns or doubt that may start creeping in. So that's number one, I would say. And again, individual for everybody, for sure. Two is, pain really only exists if you give it a voice. And I think if you are in mid-race, I'm mid-race in a marathon, and I start to experience some kind of pain, whether that be mental, physical. If I acknowledge that and then let that flood throughout my entire body, I will feel that pain in that moment, and that will just completely transform how I feel, my outlook, my perspective on the race or in life in general. But again, it kind of goes back to, emotion versus action. Pain is just an emotion, and if you give pain any kind of thought or just attention, it will take over naturally. So instead of working against pain, I've learned over time just to work with it and use it as a teacher. Use it as, this is an opportunity right now to learn more about myself. How am I going to push through this rather than try to fight it, work against it? And then the third would be control the controllables and understand the importance of you have control with whatever is in your control. And any kind of external factor that is outside your control, it's not worth worrying about. It's not worth getting stressed about. It's not worth feeling a flood of anxiety over, because it is outside of your control. A lot of times, especially on race day, you hope for the perfect weather, a little bit of clouds, no wind, just a nice cool temperature, because especially when you overheat pretty fast while running, at least I do. My body temperature runs high, so you always just hope for perfect race day weather. But let's just say it's 80 degrees and blazing sun out, or it's 20 mile per hour winds and it's pouring rain. Are you going to let that overtake your entire mentality of all the prep and the training and the preparation you've done to get to this point of the race about to start? Or again, it's outside of your control. You have no control about the weather, about anything that is an external factor. So just focus on whatever it is you can control. And yeah, that really is I think it just eliminates a lot of stress and unnecessary anxiety in a lot of people when you focus on the factors in your life that are controllables and then exclude and don't give attention to the factors that you cannot control.
You have some pretty good tools in your tool belt, I would say. So just to recap, the 3 top mental performance strategies that you use right now, and I'm sure there are more, are find your why. So in other words, that can go a couple of different ways, and it probably does for you, but why did I first start doing this in the first place is a big why that comes into my mind when I'm thinking about find your why. And then not only why did I start doing this in the first place, but why am I doing this now? Because you have to answer that question, not literally, but when you're waking up at 5 a.m. or 4 a.m. For a race or for a training, and it's cold outside or it's hot outside and it's windy, and it's like, why am I even doing this? Like, this is all obviously individually answered, but for some people it might be because they're running because their mom passed away from breast cancer, or They just went through a breakup recently. They were abused as a child, or they've got like eating disorders, and they exercise because of that. For you, I don't want to put words into your mouth. It might be because I want to see what the best version of myself I possibly can be. So find your why as number one. Number two is don't feed the pain, basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that concept is basically rooted in the idea of anything that you give your energy and your emotion to will feed on it, so to speak. So if you're in the middle of a long, grueling race, it's hot, it's full marathon, whatever, you're trying to push that pace, and you start to feel some of that pain creeping up, essentially ignore it. Right? Like it's there, it exists, but the more you think about it and feed into it, the more it's going to ultimately affect your mentality, your outlook. You might start thinking, oh my God, there's no way I can keep up this pace, or, oh my God, I have 10 more miles. This is going to be awful. These sorts of things. So that's a great technique. And then the last one, which is one of my favorites, so I'm glad that you said that, is control the controllables. So you can control your attitude, you can control your nutrition, your sleep, your hydration, you can control your preparation, you can control your mindset, but you can't control what day the race is happening. You can't control the race conditions. You can't control your competitors. You can't control many different things. And so this kind of ties into the same idea of number two with like feeding energy into things that you want to feed energy into, because you will run your best race and perform the best if you control what you can control and put your energy into those things. If you put your energy into things that you can't control, it's going to have abstract negative outcomes on your performance.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, not just to a race, control the controllables applies to everything in life. And I think it just saves people such a headache and such a just flood of anxiety if you just understand that there's only a handful of things you can control in your life. And most of the times, like you said, that's your attitude. That's your preparation. That's any kind of physical or mental action that you take for yourself that you can control. And even during a race, it is... Again, you can start to think about all these negative thought patterns and feelings of doubt or the feeling of pain. Or it could be a normal Tuesday and you're having a bad day and you had a tough interaction with your boss or whatever it may be. You can change your attitude or the way you show up or whatever it may be at any point throughout the day. It doesn't have to ruin the entire day. It doesn't have to make you get thrown in a setback or feel frustrated or anger at any point, because you have control of your emotions. You have control of your mindset. You have control of the next action or the next step you take in that moment of time. And that's powerful. That definitely goes a long way.